better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And this week, Paige, it was definitely Paige,
It was me.
made us watch
Step Up.
So, Paige, this can't have been the first time you saw this movie. So tell me,
Sure.
your senior year of high school,
Senior year of high
a
school.
beautiful man gets one of his first leading roles
Sure.
in Step Up.
That's exactly why we went, too.
Yeah, because you guys saw Coach Carter earlier in the year and you were like, hang on, this guy's going to dance for me? Yes, please.
I forgot he was in Coach Carter. No, we had seen She's the Man. And we're like, that guy's going to be in a thing. And so we went and saw this in theaters, my dude.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. She's the Man is just before this, by the way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were like, hello. And I remember telling my friend's mom that we were going to go see it because he was like going to dance and stuff. And she like pulled up his Wikipedia, which was very new at the time, and was like, he was a dancer. And she was like, so he was a stripper? And we were like, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, yeah, maybe, but like, whatever.
They're not mutually exclusive. I mean, possibly.
Sure.
I'm sure he has strips, maybe not for money, but like.
No, he was a professional stripper. We would all find out a few months later when Magic Mike got greenlit.
Yeah.
Because he don't hide it. He don't hide it.
And he shouldn't.
Good for him. Support the arts.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, support the arts. Now, here's something for you, though. I realized as I was watching this today that I had not watched it since I saw it in theaters and remembered very little of it except for the fucking soundtrack, because I had the soundtrack and I was like, I need to bust out this soundtrack again. This shit's incredible.
Yeah.
Soundtrack is the best part of the movie, 100%.
I was amazed that they found an actress that could stand next to Channing Tatum in his early days when he was just barely an actor and was really just a model at this point in his life.
Right.
And make him look like a damn actor, man. Like, she could dance, but the acting from her was pretty wooden. Yeah. But man, she could dance. She could really dance. And obviously he could dance too. And he's just so charming.
Yes.
That I think he can just play this guy so well. And he plays more or less this guy in everything except, I think, truer to his actual personality, which is more funny and like, I think even more silly, right?
Right.
I think in this movie, he's more reserved than we see him ever, really, after like 21 Jump Street.
Oh, yeah. Well, and here's what's weird is because like he is also kind of funny and She's the Man, but that was happening like right at the same time. So I think that movie hadn't come out by the time he started filming this. Does that make sense? So like that didn't hit theaters until production on this had started. And I think after that came out and a few other things came out, people realized that like Channing Tatum is best in a comedy. He really is.
He is.
Can he do action? Yes. Can he dance? Oh my God, yes. Yes. But even maybe sing a little bit. Who knows? Can he be Cajun Gambit? Yes.
Possibly?
Yes. But
Okay,
he is,
I haven't seen it. You might be right.
come on, Cher, you killed Magneto. But like, he is absolutely best when you allow him to be silly. That is my favorite version of Channing Tatum. It's not the one we have in this movie. At one point in the movie, as I was watching this today, I was like, they're going to shoot that kid. I don't remember it happening in the movie, but I knew that kid was going to get shot.
One of my first notes was, Skinny got some real, I'm going to get shot in this scene energy. And that was the first time he was on screen, because every time he's on screen, he is like me when I was a kid.
Sure.
Just like hanging around his older brothers, trying to be cooler, quote, than they were or whatever. And I'm lucky I didn't do something like Skinny did, because I'd have got shot. But yeah, when he made it to like almost all the way through the movie, I was like, damn, Skinny might actually pull this off and like live. But no, when you see him walking off by himself and you see the drug dealer guy pull up, I was like, oh no, he did.
Yeah.
Skinny's walking into his death right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, and Paige, I don't want to usurp a fun fact, but I did see that NASA put out an official statement that you could actually see Skinny's death coming from space. That's how much they telegraph it. The dumbest shit I've ever said. Sorry.
In my notes, I just had in all caps, Ricky! And like, points to you if you get that one. But I was like, they stole this directly from that movie.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rough one. It is a rough one. And I also had forgotten that this movie is, and I'm sorry, I'm in my Marge Simpson era. This movie is 60% montages.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so is like every dance movie that I've seen that's like this, right?
Sure.
But like
this was egregious though, even for a dance movie. Like this is even more than usual.
Here's why I don't care. They can both actually dance.
Oh yeah, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, like they're good at it. Normally it's two people who are great actors and they're okay at dancing, you know?
Right. They're Julia Stilesing. Yeah, no, I feel you.
Which, and listen, Julia Stiles is a way better actress than the lady who was in this movie, AKA Mrs. Channing Tatum until 2015 or whatever.
Right.
Because they actually do have chemistry in this movie.
Yes.
So much so that I looked it up and I like typed into Google, did Channing Tatum and the lead in Step Up smash?
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, no. I mean, yeah, they did, but like they got married. It was like an honorable. They got married. Like they made an honest each other out of it. It's fine.
She also, okay, so because she does not go on to do many movies after this, but she does go on to be a choreographer and to work heavily in the dance scene.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because she was a dancer. She was not an actress. She was a dancer, and they were like, we think she can do it. And honestly, the script don't give her much.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, she did it.
Yeah, because really the story is your classic hero's journey for Tyler, which is Channing Tatum's character.
Right.
It is beat for beat Star Wars is all I'm saying. Like your classic hero's journey, except that hero is Tyler Dance Vader or whatever
Sure.
Channing Tatum's character would be.
Luke Tyler Walker. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do think, you could cut 40 minutes out of this movie, which is not good because then it would not be a movie.
Well, you would have to cut all the dancing. Like you would cut out this like stuff they're really good at.
I think you could actually cut almost all of Skinny's storyline. But yes, you would have to cut a lot of dancing.
Oh, but man, like, okay, so like Skinny dying makes it so like the two friends come apart and have a reason to come together at the end.
Sure.
And it's like this movie does that so many times where they'll break up or not break up because they're not dating or anything, but like he left the group or whatever. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Right.
And then it's just so that she can go home and be like, well, maybe you're going to get your wish, Mom, and I will go to an Ivy League school. Like she's so pissed that she's not going to be a dancer in a company, which like, listen, that's hard to do.
It's very hard to do.
But it doesn't pay great and
It does not
it's
pay
rough
great.
on your body. So like
It is.
maybe going to Ivy League's a great backup. You shouldn't complain, whatever. Anyway, but like immediately after that one scene, he's like begging to get back in.
Yeah.
So it does those things where it's like, oh, we've got to get him to come apart and then immediately get him back together. And it does that for both her and his relationship and Channing Tatum and his friend Mac.
Right. Now, the problem with that is that none of them are earned. Ever.
That's what I mean.
This
It's like
entire
immediate.
movie.
Yeah, it's so fast and there's no reason for it.
This movie is both long and also ineffective in that, like, it takes a bunch of time and it doesn't spend it on making any of their characters' choices make sense. And like
Exactly.
And here's the thing: soundtrack still slaps. Soundtrack still slaps. And so you kind of like can't like it's still fun. Like, if you love this movie, I ain't gonna fault you. Like, I get it.
Well, thank you, Paige. As someone who loves this movie, I appreciate that because this movie is a special kind of like so mid 2000s.
Oh, yes.
So like very much trying to be like, oh, we're just gonna do the Save the Last Dance thing, but it's gonna be Channing Tatum doing like hip hop style dancing and this person doing more ballet.
Sure.
Whatever. Okay. Are they hot and stupid? Great. Let's do it. So like that is this movie, but it's set in 2006. So like we get great things like the fashion that is like truly terrible.
Oh, so many like angled skirt hems, so much jersey, so much unnecessary layering.
But, okay, first off, nothing wrong with layering, but Paige, everything is baggy on Channing Tatum to the point that if you asked me to describe his pants that he's wearing the entire movie, I would describe them thusly. You know when your girl is like got a skirt on and she's like, oh, but it's actually pants. And you're like, oh my God, that's what he's wearing this whole time. He's wearing like the legs are so wide. It's like a dress. He's wearing a dress.
It's 2006, my dude. And you know what? It's coming back. I've got a whole lot of wide leg raver pants and I'm just out on the town with it. But the problem is that his are buckled around his thighs.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to do fan kicks.
Exactly.
And it ain't happening.
He's wearing a belt too. It's hilarious. Anyway, but that was like the fashion of the time. I'm not making fun of him. Like,
no.
He was wearing that because this movie is an uncreative's like dream of, hey, who's up and coming?
Right.
Let's put them all in a thing that's just like another thing and see if it works. And you know what, guys? It did work.
It did work.
When we talk box office, I mean, it's not crazy, but like it made money.
It was very popular.
Yeah.
It made money. I do want to say, and this is why when people are like, oh, we should bring fashion from the early 2000s when you and I were in high school, we should bring it back. And I'm like,
No.
It has its limits. It has its limits. Because you know what we don't get to see at all in this whole movie is Channing Tatum's fucking body. The dude was a former stripper. He looks incredible. We don't get to see a single frame of it where it's just bags, just baggy stuff. And I know that was the thing at the time. I know at the time, like, here's the thing. Like, what? I was like 17, 18 when this came out. 17 or 18-year-old Paige was like, oh my God.
Let's just say, Paige, you're making me nervous. Let's just say 18. Can we just say 18, please?
I turned 18 in November of 2006.
Ah, shit. You were definitely 17.
I was 17.
She's only 17. This movie came out August 11th, 2006.
There you go.
I don't know why I said it like a radio DJ, but you're welcome, guys.
I don't either, but that like 17-year-old me was just like, that might be the hottest man I've ever seen. And like grown-up me is like, we ain't even getting to see it, girl. Come on.
I do love, and here, like Paige, my only criticism is that we don't see enough of Jenna Dewan's body. Like she's wearing baggy stuff the whole movie. It's weird when I say that.
God.
I don't know how you can get away with saying it.
Because of a history of systemic inequalities. However, okay.
That is the truth. That is actually the actual answer, yes.
Jenna Dewan in this movie, though, and this is, I had not noticed it until now. At the time that this came out, I was still doing musical theater on the reg.
Paige, musical theater, really? You were in musical theater?
Shocker. And like, even now, I still have many friends that are dancers. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, she's wearing leggings and a skirt and some sort of weird waist scarf and then a shirt and then another shirt and a sweater. And I'm just like, she would be sweating through all of it. I'm like, why do we have a skirt over her leggings? Is she going to my private school? Like, what are we doing here?
Paige, this also, as someone who survived this time, this was the fashion.
I know it was.
And maybe my layering is starting to make some sense.
There you go.
But also, it's very practical. Like, you can always take a layer off, guys. It's great. But she doesn't. I mean, she does full dance numbers.
She does not.
In summer, in like
a shrug sweater.
Yeah.
Can we also, two things. One, I do think that, and because people often forget this about the early 2000s, there was a weird morality and forced modesty of films at the time. And so the layering really kind of spoke to that at the time because like you would have, this was the same time that we would have Paris Hilton or Lindsay Lohan or whatever wearing low-cut jeans that are like you're having to shave the top of your pubes to wear the jeans. So like it's not like the entire world was doing this ultra layering, ultra modest thing.
Right.
Like this was the time of the whale tail, and we don't see a single whale tail in this movie. That's crazy. And for those of you who are young, I'm sorry. Whale tail is when you pull your thong up so people can see the straps up the side of your low-cut jeans. It's horrible. We shouldn't bring it back. Anyway, it was uncomfortable.
No, we shouldn't, Paige.
Okay.
It wasn't really for me. I don't care. Like, whatever.
Anyway, But so to then look at this movie and other movies at this time where people are wearing like 2-3 different skirts and like layering skirts on skirts on skirts, it is kind of that like kickback of the like, well, they're not like, and there was a lot of slut shaming at the time too. And so it's like, that's how movies would identify who was who, is who was wearing 3 skirts and who was wearing 1 pair of jeans. And so like, there's that. I don't love that.
Look at that trollop in the jeans.
Look at the trollop in the jeans. Second, and completely unrelated to the amount of layers that people are wearing in this film. Second, what grade is Channing Tatum in? Because they're doing like the end of the year senior showcase and he's going to transfer in for like a week.
Yeah, Paige. He's going to coast into this private school for graduation.
Right.
And that's going to catapult him to, honestly, stardom. Because America fell in love with him after this movie, and I don't blame us.
Don't blame him.
But
don't blame him.
I guess that's what was going to happen, unless they want me to think he's just like a junior.
Well, and that was my question. The movie is unclear. The movie does not tell us.
Well, it's because we never see him like go to his school.
We see him go to his school once, but we don't know what grade he's in. He's literally just listening to headphones in class. Like, we have no idea.
Yeah.
The movie is just like, yeah, it's public school, whatever. Like, the movie does not care. It is wild. Now, the one thing, because I'm sorry, my voice it's going to be bad. The one thing that I had forgotten, because I knew it was like a performing arts school, but in my mind, it was like a Richie Rich performing arts school, but it's not. It's a lot like LA has a lot of schools like this that are technically like charter schools or a specific type of public school that you then test into.
Yeah, we call them magnet schools here.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's what they call them out there.
Yes, that is basically what they call it. Like, arts magnets is what they call
exactly.
them. Where it is mostly kids with scholarships or kids going there for free. That's like the whole thing. But then the movie kind of wants to have it both ways, where like she's the daughter of like a shipping magnate
who died. I mean, I got the impression that like her mom was pissed because she was like, I didn't marry a man 45 years older than me to have you focus on dance and not go to an Ivy League school. All right.
Who's going to take care of me when I'm old? Oh man.
Because they never really say like what happened to her dad, just that he died. I was like, died, quote, of old age, question mark. I was like, what happened? What's the story?
Smothered in his sleep.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That mom is doing great on those Law and Order residuals, but like, yeah.
I saw her and I was like, where have I seen this lady before?
Yeah.
And Law and Order.
Oh, no, it wasn't Law and Order. It was another. So, okay, this actually ties into a little bit of when I said that this is an uncreative's idea of like, get me everything that's like up and coming right now.
Right.
And we'll make it a movie, right? And that is everything down to Channing Tatum, to it being a dance-themed rom-com type movie.
To putting strings with your hip-hop, because that was big at the time.
Yes.
Still big. We should bring it back.
I mean, even like mid-2000s, they shot 80% of this probably on the set of The Wire.
Oh, yeah.
And this lady, her mom was in The Wire.
Yes.
It wasn't Law and Order. It was The Wire.
That's what it was.
So yeah, this movie is just like some executive who doesn't know anything about Joseph Campbell or how to write a movie was like, get me my Rubik's Cube and then these 8 people who are hot right now.
It's just rolling D&D dice for choices.
Yeah.
Like,
but honestly, like it paid off. Like it worked.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not mad at it because I don't dislike this movie. It's not great, but it is awesome to see Channing Tatum doing this young.
Yes.
And like just trying to figure out what acting even is, man. Like
this movie that's almost 20 years old, Todd. It's almost 20 years old.
I'm going to go die now. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I mean, but if you think that the second that needle dropped on the credit song that I wasn't like, show off that body you got. Like, I knew the whole thing. I was like, damn, this is fire.
Yeah, I obviously also immediately recognized that song, Fellow Kids, or whatever.
Well, it was big because of this soundtrack.
Sure, yeah, I wasn't into Step Up at this time, but I was probably
Sure.
into Andrew WK at this time, honestly.
Another thing that was very popular at the time
Yeah.
hasn't necessarily aged well.
Listen, man, everyone's entitled to one banger album. You're not required to have any good ones after that, and that guy proved it.
That's true. Party all the time. Party. We will always party hard.
Oh, man. But Paige, maybe we should go through this movie scene by scene.
Let's do it. And then I have some questions for you about 2006 along the way. Let's go.
Oh, I kind of love this. Is it like, how much do you know about pop history from that time kind of questions?
No.
Okay.
About your experience in 2006.
Oh, okay.
Because I know you didn't know that Mario was really popular, even though he's in this movie.
No, I knew who Mario was.
Oh, no way.
Well, I knew. Okay. So in all fairness, I knew he was somebody. And then I Googled it and I was like, I recognize this song.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm aware enough to know, but I didn't know at sight what his song was, if that makes sense.
Right. He like turned a corner in his first scene. I was like, Mario. And I was like, why do I know that name? Oh my God.
It's actually sad that now his brother's more outshining him, but yeah.
I know.
I do think it's funny that character, not Mario in real life,
right?
But that character fundamentally does not understand the producer-artist relationship.
And vocalist relationship.
It's so funny to me. Like, whoever wrote this has never talks to anybody who's made an album.
Now, here's the thing. I will say modern day, there is one very notable exception to that, but they are the exception, not the rule.
Sure.
And that is Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas. But like, they are the exception because he is the producer, she is the vocals. That's very rare for people to collaborate long term like that.
Yeah.
And for them to get albums together. And it's mainly because now breaking the mold of the studio system, it's a lot easier to do that. But at the time, in 2006, that was never going to happen. He didn't understand. Anyway.
And Paige, sorry.
Yes.
Just to touch on that. He wouldn't want to. Like,
yes.
You don't want to as a producer. Like,
yes.
That producer or Mario in this movie.
You want to spread your oats and
yes.
work with like 12 different people.
Exactly.
Yes.
You don't want to lock yourself down to one person. Like, that person's not Elton John. Like, you're not, you're like, stop doing that. And also, that producer is going to end up making way more money than that artist.
Yes.
Because they can produce 12, 15 albums a year.
Yes.
An artist can't do that. That is too much to put out.
I was literally talking about this today for a couple of reasons because Behind the Bastards did their Diddy episodes.
Yeah.
And their guest is someone who works as a producer and has worked with a bunch of other people.
Yep. Great episodes, by the way.
Great episodes. I listened to part of the Oprah one today. Fascinating.
Me too. Yeah.
I was talking to my mom because she has since retired, but she had some students who were going to, there's specifically an audio engineering and producing school in Los Angeles. And she was like, yeah, I didn't ever know if it was legit. I was like, it is if you're going there to produce, not if you're going to go for like their vocal, whatever. Like if you're going there to become a producer, that's great because it will teach you a lot. And it's purely because no one ever thinks of that as a job in the music industry. And it's a huge job that makes a ton of fucking money. That's where the money is.
I know quite a few here in town. Oh, quite a few is like 3. I know like 3 here in town and they all do very well for themselves and you've never heard of them.
Yeah.
You know, like it's that kind of thing. Like not everyone is Dr. Dre, although he is a very famous one and is probably one of the wealthier ones.
Sure.
But a lot of people you've never heard of make a good living doing that.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now. If I had the choice of being known or being able to do what I want and having so much money that it didn't matter if people didn't know me, I would choose the latter.
It's exactly why the New Radicals put out one album. It's because he never wanted to put out an album.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a producer, but knew he couldn't get that work unless he got recognition in another medium. So he did that and then like bounced. He was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to tour every year of my life.
Sounds awful.
Anyway, but yeah, I thought that was so funny that he just doesn't understand that at all.
He doesn't.
But he's supposed to be a high school kid. Like, I get it. It's probably the first big-ish project he's worked on that's gotten some recognition. So it's like, whatever. I get it. But it's just fundamentally not what happens.
He's got the first copy of Pro Tools.
Yeah. It would have been Pro Tools at this time. Like,
Yeah.
I was recording some of my first music at this time. In fact, the first thing I ever recorded on was a Korg D16, which is like a
Yeah.
It wasn't even a computer, but it was an electric mixer.
Right.
I guess it had a computer chip in it, so because it had memory, but that was it.
Well, I mean, here's what's so funny, because like people don't think about how fast technology in the audio space has progressed.
Ugh,
But when we
yeah.
started recording cult podcasts, like early days, we had a mixer. Like we had to actually dial in the levels, and we were all in the same room, and it was a nightmare. We had to cover everything with carpet, and that building burned down this week.
Paige, I don't want to alarm you, but you still record to a mixer. You have to check your. Are you not checking your levels beforehand? Like, as the person who like is responsible for that.
But no, okay. To give you an idea, yes, this has a screen that shows me the levels as they're happening.
Yes, yeah.
Our original mixer,
of course,
we couldn't really hear it,
it's all
and
analog.
Armando was having to analog and manually dial the whole time, which is a whole lot of work to do while you're also on the podcast. Anyway, podcasting has gotten a lot easier, as has music.
Yeah.
In fact, this is to give you an idea of how old this movie is. People are about to accidentally discover auto-tune again. Like, T-Pain is about to be like, wait a second.
You hear T-Pain in this movie very briefly.
You do.
Yeah.
Because it was like right around the same time. Like, Cher had put that one album out, and people were like, why does this sound so weird? And then here comes T-Pain. Anyway, so we open on a dance school, scored to the bangerest banger on this fucking soundtrack that is basically the backing track for the end song. But I'm telling you, the vocals really kind of make that song.
It's not bad,
like, it really gives it that more driving beat.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't hate it.
It's, if you have to watch credits, this is pretty fun because it's like contrasting the school and the streets, and you see them both.
It very much kicks off just like Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. It's like, here's a girl in a certain setting and here's a guy in the opposite setting, right?
Right.
And that is very much what it's showing us. It's just, in this case, it's like a girl who is in like, it might be ballet school, but like, it seems like she's a more, I wouldn't say wealthy, because I actually think they might be super wealthy, but the school isn't necessarily wealthy.
I'm going to say traditional.
Yes, that's the right way to put it, right? That is like the traditional path, right? And then Channing Tatum is in a, I would say, lower class coded path.
Yes. Oh, there's definitely class differences, but it's also this idea of tradition and refinement of the fine arts versus people who have raw talent on the streets that don't necessarily have access to the mechanisms of refining that talent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I also think fundamentally they have two different dance styles, but it's probably because of their upbringing. Yeah. I just think that his is more, honestly, unscripted, to use the wrong term correctly.
Yeah.
Like, it is very like, he's got moves, but like he sort of is dancing through emotion more than like she is dancing and she is classically trained to dance this choreographed piece.
Yeah.
He is more like just like the best dancer in the club, you know?
Right. He's got some elements of like early crumping in it, which I think is really, when we did 7M Dance Cult on Cult Podcast, we did a whole episode on crumping and what led to that dance cult. And Armando made one of the most like apt observations that I've ever seen. And he just said, dance like you're punishing the ground. And that is what this looks like. Very much so.
Yeah.
So, end credits. We close on an old car showing up at a house party. We will find out that this is a stolen car that they are going to turn into a chop shop. Because the B plot of this movie is essentially gone in 60 seconds. They steal in cars, they turn them into Heavy D, and you're like, Heavy D, why you need to steal cars? Aren't you a famous record executive by now? Anyway, they show up to this party, and it's Tyler and Marcus, Channing Tatum and his friend, and his younger brother, Skinny, who has a belt buckle that tells everyone his name. I do love an accessory that is that personalized.
Paige, can I just be a little vulnerable for a second?
Did you have a Todd Awesome belt buckle?
This is before I was given that name, because that was the name that was given to me by coworkers, and it was actually...
Did you have a belt buckle that just said Todd? Because that's even funnier.
Paige, of course it didn't say just Todd.
What did it say?
It's... I hate this. This is like before we got signed and stuff. I was like the worst version of myself. It said the Todd. Paige, it wasn't great.
No, I love it. I love it. But again, I also have a chain that says Ham Beast. So maybe I'm not the best judge of your accessories, except that I am. That chain goes hard.
I still remember that night that belt stopped working.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Got pushed in a pool.
Oh.
It was also the night my my first smartphone got destroyed or whatever.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd take it in the same pool.
Yep.
It'd be weirder if it wasn't.
No, a giant stepped on it. No, yeah, it was the pool.
I feel like you should get another one.
I made all kind of bad decisions. Another belt like this, I would definitely have a belt like this.
Like if you show up at Panic Fest with a The Todd belt.
What if I just showed up to my next work conference with that? Like suit, light up belt buckle.
Oh my God, best boss ever.
Yeah. Anyway, but this is the scene where Skinny's got some real... I'm getting killed in this movie energy.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was so egregious that I thought it was going to happen in that scene.
I did too. I was like, oh man, he's going to get shot. And I was like, how does Channing Tatum end up at the school? Anyway.
He's like emitting all of the signals that like, if this was a parent, he'd be coughing into a napkin and revealing blood. Like that, but it's like the kid version of that. So it's like, he's like, trying to show out for his older, like the people he look up to, like his brother and his best friend, right? And so he has like, he's an idiot. He has no common sense.
Real Scrappy Doo energy.
That is, yes, perfect. But at the end of this like scene, or not even the end, but like it like culminates in like them getting a gun pulled on them.
Right.
Because Skinny causes an argument between him and what was it, PJ or PB or whatever? I don't know. Peanut butter?
It's PJ, and it's actually that Tyler starts the fight because Tyler was dancing with PJ's girl, and she was feeling Tyler's moves, and PJ ain't got moves like that. And so she was like, we just dancing, and PJ was like, gun.
My drum instructors are Smith and Wesson. Those are that's a gun manufacturer, but don't worry about it. It's fine. I call these Rust Belt jokes.
Anyway, Tyler dances with PJ's girl, and PJ is like, get out of here. Oh my God, my voice is coming. Cough drops work wonders.
Oh man, we took a little break, and Paige got some cough drops, and I did a little research on what was the hit song the week this movie came out.
Oh, what was it?
Paige,
tell me everything.
It was a Nelly Furtado jam featuring Timberland, Promiscuous.
Oh, promiscuous girl.
Yeah.
Wherever you are.
Yep.
I'm all alone. And it's you that I want. That was my jam back in the day.
So if you were wondering why Paige wasn't laughing at my killer jokes before, it's because she was hacking up a lung.
Yes, sorry. I will say that was a song they didn't let us play around our high school because it had the word promiscuous in it.
Was it too hard to spell?
No. They also made us wear skirts year round. So and for yourself.
Yeah, my school also wouldn't let me listen to music where the words were made up either, Paige. It's fine.
Made up?
That's not a real word, right? That's a made up word.
It's a very real word.
I know, Paige. Of course it's a real word.
It's like a word. It's spelled with letters. Yay. That was another Nelly Furtado song. It's whatever. We're going to get what we get today.
I'm into it. I like Weird Paige.
Weird Paige. Reminiscing about 2006. Anyway, PJ runs him out of the party. Now, here's where I thought, here's where I thought Ricky was going to get shot. Skinny, not Ricky, but basically Ricky.
Yeah, same.
They're going through an alley and they're like throwing trash, and PJ drives by in his Escalade.
Yes. Can I just say this before we took our little break so you can get cough drops? I meant to say, when he pulls the gun, the crowd does not behave like a crowd would at a club when someone pulls the gun.
They don't disperse at all.
They kind of like lean in a little bit. They're like, oh my God, what's happening?
What's good with this
gun? And if someone brings a gun to the club, I'm leaving the club immediately.
Especially especially in 2006, where there were multiple instances of people bringing a gun to the club and it not being okay.
Paige, I was playing at clubs at 2006 where people got shot in the parking lot. Like, yes, I can name drop it. It was called the Outer Limits here in Nashville.
That's a
and they
great
closed
name for
it
a
down
club.
because people got, not one person, Paige, people on separate occasions got murdered in that parking lot.
Look, hey, you know what? You want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. But was it space themed?
Okay, so Paige, it was an old movie theater. It was an old 4-screen movie theater that someone bought and was like, we've got 4 big, oddly shaped rooms.
Great.
Let's build 4 different dance clubs into one venue. And that's exactly what it was.
I love that.
There was a live rock venue. There was like a dance club. There was like a country western section. And like, I forget what the other one was. Jazz tap. I have no idea. But it was like a pretty kind of cool place where you could hang out.
That sounds
It just
awesome.
wasn't in the best part of town.
Sure.
And so people got shot.
Well, it happens. When I was in Portland this summer, our friends who lived there wanted to take us to this place that used to be a school, and they shut down the school, and they basically did that with a school of like, there's a bunch of different venues, a bunch of different restaurants, a bunch of different fun stuff, classroom to classroom. And I was like, that sounds like the coolest shit ever, but we weren't there the right nights or whatever. But
Paige,
yeah.
I just Googled it just to make sure I got the name of the club right, and I did. But in Googling, I found that this year, someone was murdered in that parking lot in 2006.
Even with the club not there. Oh, wait. That in 2006.
Yeah, the club was there in 2006, Paige.
No. I thought you meant that somebody went and murdered somebody in that parking lot today. And I was like, for tradition?
No, the club was shut down on account of the murders. Like, I don't know why they shut it down.
Right.
But it's probably a good thing, ultimately. But yeah.
Probably the murders.
Yeah, probably on account of the murders.
Well, that's like, okay, fun comedy story time. I was on a show with Maria Bamford one time, and she was slumming it. She was there to work out new stuff. I was there because it was where I could get booked. And it was an art gallery in what used to be a bad part of town that was like mid gentrification. And Maria walked over and was just like, hi guys, somebody just got stabbed over there.
Yeah.
And the people at the venue were like, we already called an ambulance. Because that person was alive and survived the stabbing and was just like bleeding all over the alleyway. This is where the audience is standing to go in and wait to go inside the gallery. The performing arts will take you through a lot of, potentially fatal injuries. So
yeah,
I'm not surprised.
It'll put you in a lot of dangerous positions.
Anyway, so they're going through an alleyway, kicking cans around, kicking trash cans at each other, throwing shit around. PJ drives by. I thought for sure this is where Skinny was going to get rickied.
Me too.
He does not. But Channing Tatum throws a bottle at him across the street and it breaks the window of the school. Now, if they had just left, the movie wouldn't happen. But also, it would not complicate our air quotes hero all that much. Because part of the issue with this movie is that Channing Tatum never really has a ton of remorse for what happens in this scene and continues to help steal cars after.
I mean, he legit does face legal consequences for these actions right here and then shows he did not learn from the punishment he is currently serving throughout this movie. So yeah, agree, Paige. It's very funny.
And here's the thing. Oddly enough, I do think that like the punishment fit the crime where they were like, yeah, now you got to go clean up there. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
I honestly kind of loved the way the judge handled it.
Right?
200 hours seemed like a lot, but like whatever. Okay, that's fine.
Because essentially they climb in through this window and they like walk around the school and they're looking at all this stuff. They assume it's a bunch of rich kids. We will find out it's not. It's basically a magnet. But like they go to their theater and they just destroy the theater.
Yeah, they sort of destroy it in a way that like kids who had no care for like the expensive stuff around them like would play with it. Like they're not like destroying it maliciously. They're like knocking things over as jokes and stuff.
Yeah, they destroy it with the carelessness of people who it means nothing to them, right? They didn't make it. They don't know what it's for. They're just destroying it. Whereas people probably spent a long time and a lot of money making it and trying to make it nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the security guard catches them, and Channing Tatum pushes him out of the way, meaning that Channing Tatum gets caught, and his friend and his little brother get away.
I thought it was crazy that they couldn't get away from this guy because the security guard's 40 and shorter than both. Like, he is like skinny size, and Channing Tatum and Mac are like a full foot taller than him.
Oh, I mean, well, that's the other thing too, is because Channing Tatum's like mid-20s, and so they're like, none of these other high school students can lift me, and he's like, I got it, and it's like, yeah, he's a full head taller than them.
Yeah.
Like, of course he got it.
It's like if I played Little League now.
Yes, exactly. But he gets caught. They don't. Which for me means for the entire rest of the movie when they're like, what do you mean you have community service? I almost want to be like, for your ass, man. Like, he let you go.
I know, right? When Mac sort of turns on him, I was like, come on, bro. You know what happened. You were legit there, and he ensured that you didn't end up with this similar punishment, which, listen, maybe Mac is like the world's best trumpet player, and he never got a chance to shine because Channing Tatum stepped in here.
Well, we know he's a fantastic basketball player.
That is true.
But he won't join the school team. He's like, because they suck. And he's like, well, maybe they wouldn't suck if you were there. Which I was like, scream this from the rooftops. Because, like, I feel like I have this conversation with people a lot of the time where it's like, I'm great and they suck. And I'm like, well, but if you helped them, you could all be great.
Yeah, I always, when someone says something like that to me, I say more or less, but they're at least in the game.
Yes.
Like, you might be amazing, but you're not in the game.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
Well, that's like all the people who criticize roast battle videos online. I'm like, well, you haven't left your basement. At least these people are on stage. Like, they took the one step you didn't take.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
when people ask, I get asked a lot, like, how do you deal with like the negative feedback you get from the podcast? Because everyone who puts themselves out there in any kind of creative capacity gets negative feedback. And I'm just like, consider the source. Like, they don't know what makes a good show, or they'd have one.
Right.
So like,
or they haven't started.
Yeah. If Robert Evans was like, your show is shit, I'd be like, maybe our show is shit.
It is,
you know?
and I'm so sorry we angered you.
Yeah, because that dude built a huge successful podcast. If fucking Laser Girl 975 on Blue Sky is like, you suck, I'm like, well, at least my name is on here.
At least I didn't need numbers. At least I had the foresight to grab my handle a year ago.
It's kind of like hang on, man, I'm actually trying to do something out here. Like, just save your shit for like your therapist.
Yes.
But that's how I deal with it. I just like turn it back on them. And I'm like, it's not about me. It's about you. And that's fine.
This is about you being upset with you not doing anything.
Or just like genuinely not liking it, but like, that's just your opinion, man.
You don't have to listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No one is strapping you down Clockwork Orange style and making you listen to it.
Yeah, I'm not Bono. I didn't download my podcast onto your phone. I knew you would laugh at that because you are the person who still talks about that.
I fucking hate it. But also, I briefly dated somebody who I was telling my dad this the other day.
Was it the Edge page? Did you date the Edge?
No. No. I was like, I knew it wouldn't work out when he was like, the album's not that bad. We should all listen to it. And I was like, no.
I'd be like, get out of here, Bono. Take off your mask. I knew those shoulders weren't real. I'll show you a bloody Sunday.
I think they really thought they were doing a good thing, and they couldn't have been more wrong.
Honestly, they legit gave their album to 1 million people, and 1 million people got mad at them for that free album.
Because I'm like 4 phones later, and I still can't get it off the thing.
Oh, I'm not saying it was a good call. It's just a very funny thing that they thought they were doing, and it was great, and it ended very badly for them.
But also, I'm like, why did you give it away for free other than to make us all have it? Like, if you had been like, we're giving what the cost of the album would have been to charity, I would have been like, this seems like a weird roundabout way to do this, but okay. But instead, it's just like, you get to have it now. I'm like, but I don't want it. I don't want it.
Then give me the option to download it if I want. But yeah.
There you go.
The problem was the execution, not the idea. Like, if they were like, hey, with this phone, you can download the new,
Great.
I don't know, Bon Jovi album or whoever, The Edge. Or,
Sure.
Who was that?
It was you too.
Yeah, U2. You get to download the new U2 album. I'd be like, great. And then I would never do that.
I would never do that.
Yeah, I would be like, oh, cool, that's nice or whatever.
But you put it on my phone.
But because they forced me to have it, I was like, fuck you, Dad. I don't want
You
your
made it a
album.
problem.
Get away from me, Bono.
But actually, it's a really good album if you listen. I'm not gonna. That's why we're not together. Anyway, they go in, they destroy the school. He gets 200 hours of community service. He shows up the first day, and they're like, okay, you're basically going to be a janitor at this school. And he's like, okay. And he's like mopping, but immediately he's like, oh, hey, Jenna Dewan. And like, everyone, all the girls are like, he's so fucking hot. Like, okay.
They're like, damn, who's the 28-year-old janitor?
He fully looks 28.
What's going on? I did think it was really funny that like the principal, who is from Muriel's wedding, she was the friend in Muriel's wedding.
Rachel Griffiths, yes.
Yeah, she's great in this and great in that. But she is more or less like, let me take you to who your boss will be. And we meet his boss. She like gives
We
this.
never see that man again.
I know, we see him in this one scene. She's like, all right, Maurice or whatever, like, give me a progress report on what he did every day. And then like he immediately, after hearing the principal tell his boss, I want you to tell me what he does every day. He's like, cool. I'm going to like wheel my mop bucket over here and flirt for an hour.
Yes. Well, and this is, I kind of skipped over it. We do see he goes home. He's a foster kid. And like,
Yes.
he goes to his foster home and we meet his mom and foster mom and dad. It seems like it's not going great. But we also meet his younger sister, Allison Stoner, who like modern day, like now she is a choreographer and dancer in her own right. At this time, and she's in a ton of movies around this era as a child. But at this time, she was most famous for being a dancer for Missy Elliott. And she was in multiple Missy Elliott videos and would tour with her live and then has come back and done it again as an adult. It's pretty great.
Yeah, Allison Stoner has been an accredited actor in 134 things.
Yes.
And she's just now like 30.
Yeah.
I don't know how old she is, but she's pretty young to have that many credits. That's like Dick Van Dyke level credits, guys.
Yeah. She's a little younger than me because I would have been like 18 when this came
so there you
out.
go.
And she's probably like 12 or 13 in this movie. So yeah, she's probably 30, early 30s.
Yeah, she was born in 93. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 31, yeah.
There you go. But yeah, those old Missy Elliott videos go fucking hard, man. Like hard. And it was right at this era too. So that's 100% why they cast her.
Yeah, it was everyone who was up and coming at the time, even the location of Baltimore and the set of The Wire.
Right.
Like that is like what was hot at the time.
Yeah. Anyway, he does use that time to kind of flirt.
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh, that's the guy that trashed the theater. And everyone's kind of like, oh. And they're like, not down. They immediately forget this.
Except for her one friend who's like, sploosh, I'm into it. Bad boy with a mop. Let's go.
I mean, hey.
He's already got a mop, Paige.
I know, right? That's a man who cleans. He does the chores.
Yeah.
They drive a stolen car to Omar's.
They drive a stolen car every time you see them in a car, Paige. It's stolen.
They're in a stolen
They're
car.
never not
Yes.
driving in a stolen car.
Yes. It's gone in 60 seconds.
Yes.
With dancing. Anyway, while we're kind of tracking him at the school, because they go to drop something off with Omar, and Omar's like, what is this shit? Because it's Heavy D. And you're like, hey, Heavy D, hell yeah. And then he's like, bring me an escalator, some shit. And they're like, fine, we'll take this somewhere else. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
But Skinny's like, I'm going to remember that for later when I need to get killed.
When I need to get shot, when I need to get gatted in the streets. So we cut back to the school, and Jenna Dewan's character is like, I am so stressed out at the senior showcase. And Miles, aka Mario, keeps giving her new tracks of like, try this track. Every single one of these tracks is hot fire, and none of them go with her dancing. It's the weirdest runner through this movie that really doesn't fit until Channing Tatum is dancing with her. Then it kind of fits, but like her regular dancing, not so much.
Well, because it's like her regular dancing, and this is probably not her as an artist, like as a dancer, but like in the movie, it's like just ballet, more or less.
Yeah.
She's doing ballet. It's like that sort of formal dancing.
Right.
Which is what she wants to end up doing. So like, I understand that.
Sure.
But the music she is being like given to dance to is very hip hop.
Right. They're waiting for her to do the Save the Last Dance.
Exactly.
Which I do appreciate that Julia Stiles has continued to do that very memeable dance for fun. I think that's great. She's done it on SNL. She's done it in movies and videos and stuff.
Lean into it, Julia. Have fun with it.
Lean into it. So funny. Anyway, but we cut to Channing Tatum outside dancing. And she watches him from the window. And he's like, this scene, I'm like, hell yeah. But they're also playing Black Sheep, which is a fucking banger of a song.
It's a great song. But he's like dancing in like it's like not the parking lot. It's like behind the school.
Right.
It's honestly probably where the janitors would park. And his friends came to pick them up in a stolen car. And he is dancing in a revelatory celebration because he's off work, I guess. I don't know. But they're just like having fun. They're like shooting the shit after work, more or less. And she is leering from a window in school.
Can't blame her. Because this is my favorite part of specifically Magic Mike XXL. Because Magic Mike itself is very serious and doesn't let Channing Tatum be funny. And I feel like you need him to be funny. But in Magic Mike XL, it's basically a whole movie of this. And I'm here for it. It's him with like drills dancing to Pony and shit.
I mean, this is a good dance, but it also like, even though they're far away from each other, I do feel a little chemistry between them because he's like looking back at her and she's like into it.
Oh, yeah. Who wouldn't be?
She's like, I'm going to marry that dude.
I want to marry him. I will say, if you have some time, if you want follow-up materials, DLC, if you will, for this movie, you got to watch the lip sync battle that the two of them did, where she does Magic Mike.
What?
Like she does the pony dance for Magic Mike. It's fucking incredible. And I think he does Britney Spears. I might be wrong, but I remember her specifically doing Magic Mike. Definitely watch it.
Nice.
Anyway, so we find out that they're playing pickup basketball. They're like hustling people for basketball.
Yeah. They're living their like white men can't jump off screen
moments,
right? Because they are like hustling for cash.
They're living White Man Can't Jump and Gone to 60 Seconds off screen.
Yeah.
But he shows up to work the next day and he's working in the rehearsal room where she is trying out new dance partners because her dance partner hurt his ankle. And they are all these very spindly men who can't lift her despite the fact that she is the size of a small child. And so like, you know, it's not working out. And he's like, I could do it because he has janitor muscles. And she's like,
and also
okay,
is a full ass adult man. Like, and
yeah. Well, and it's basically the lift from Dirty Dancing. Although when we see it, the full lift later, it's a backwards Dirty Dancing, which is even more impressive.
Yeah, Channing Tatum notoriously loves to lift them from the back page.
Yeah. But it's basically the like, I've had the time of my lift. And like, they can't do it, but he could do it because again, he's like a 28-year-old man.
The first time he does it though, he just like picks her up by her shoulders. Like it is sort of a dancey lift, but it's more like he's holding a big baby in the air than what they do later. That's more, you know, dancey. But I think he's like just trying to prove a point. Like, yeah, I can lift you.
Like, I could do
it's fine.
this.
And then he like, these are those moments that a lot of movies needs to build the chemistry. Like he pulls her down from that lift and he is like holding her in his arms and their faces are like inches from each other. And she is oozing, I've already forgot my boyfriend's name energy.
Oh, we should mention, we briefly met her boyfriend he seems like kind of an asshole from the jump.
I was so confused as to what her boyfriend's like superpower was because all the kids at the school have like superpowers, right?
Yeah. It's Professor X, but also fame.
Right. It is very much that because like they said his thing was music and she was like, I want you to dance. I want you to be my partner.
Right.
And he was like, well, I got to really focus on the music because that's what that's what I'm here for. I'm not here for dance.
Right.
And I was like, so like this guy just plays like trumpet and she's like,
no, he's a vocalist.
No, I know. We see later, like he's the guy who gets signed or whatever. But when she's asking him to be her partner, it's like, he's not a dancer.
Right. He's not a dancer.
Although he might, because of the kind of singer he is, be able to dance.
Yeah.
They never really get into it. But when that happens, I was like, so he's here to play fucking trombone and you want him to dance?
Can we talk about, well, when we get to it, let's talk about how weak sauce his music is. Because I was like, no.
Paige,
probably signed at the time. I get it, but no.
I was about to say, I guarantee you this would have sold. I don't know if it's real, but like this guy.
Know.
Yeah.
Well, because he's basically, a low rent version of the guy that her friend is in love with, the British guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the American answer. He is the monkeys.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is honestly what I call the better Beatles.
Dude, I fucking love the monkeys,
Same.
man. Like, I love them. Anyway, so she takes Channing Tatum to Rachel Griffiths and like, please let his community service be rubbing up on my jug. And Rachel Griffiths is like, okay, fine. Like, I don't have time to argue with you. You are clearly high maintenance.
But that's like a sweet ass deal. You have to do 200 hours of community service. 4 hours into that 200 hours, that community service goes from being a janitor job to dancing with someone you're attracted to. Like, okay, that's great. I'm happy to do this.
Yeah, and we do some other stuff where they've got like another stolen car or whatever, but we cut back to them dancing and he does the spin and he gets all close because he doesn't have tights and he's like, he can't really dance, but he's trying to follow around.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend shows up and is just like, what the fuck is this? She's like, we're just dancing. Yeah, it better be. And I'm like, dude, he could end you. He's fully 6 inches taller than you.
Yeah.
Like, he would just snap your spine over his knee. Like, what are we even doing here?
When they're recording and he's like, hey man, it's a closed studio. I was like, bitch, it is a high school recording studio. There is a math class going on next door. This shit's not closed. Also, what are you going to do? Ask him again to leave?
Yeah,
Because
right?
he's an adult man and you're a child.
Right. But we then get her friends. So here's the thing. This movie has like 4 subplots. It doesn't need all of them, but a lot of them are basically served by just her friends walking through and being like, you're going to come see me at the club, right? Okay, bye. And that's like the only momentum that subplot has. And it's like this, we're just hearing about her friend's older boyfriend and that she's going to sing at the club and that's coming up and whatever.
Yeah.
And his name is Colin.
But none of that pays off until we get to that concert.
We get to that part where everyone knows the same dance. Yeah.
Oh my God, Paige, I lost my mind. I lost my flippin' mind. Anyway, we'll have to get there. Yeah, we'll have to table it, but yeah.
It's a real she's all that moment. But we have our first of many dance montages. Does anything get furthered in this montage? No. Channing Tatum starts out struggling, ends the montage still struggling. But he's tired at home, which gives Allison Stoner a chance to be like, there's Captain Crunch.
I have to say this, just from a cinematography nerd and like editing standpoint, the way they transition out of this montage and the one later, I think is a very simple, great way to do it. And it's because he does like this hard dance move and you see he's tired and he just like sort of collapses in that scene off camera right? And he then falls into bed in the same motion in the other scene and they cut it from one to the other. So when he passes through the frame, he is falling into bed from the scene before it. It's like really well done, honestly. You don't expect that from these types of movies.
Sorry, I just read something because I suspected it and didn't clarify. Allison Stoner uses they, them pronouns.
Ah, shit. Okay.
So if you want to drop this into other parts, they. But then moving forward, we'll use they.
Yeah. We'll use they, them pronouns. Sorry, we didn't do that earlier.
Anyway, they're hustling some basketball and he has to leave and go to rehearse. And he's like, hey, I gotta go. Let's head out. And they try to set Skinny up to steal that car, but it has an alarm. So they all run away. But he gets there and he's late to rehearsal.
Yeah.
There's another class there. They've taken up the rehearsal space. And she's like, you're not taking this seriously. So he goes and sees her in, and this is the closed recording or whatever.
Yeah.
Where we hear her boyfriend sing and it is underwhelming. But she's like, if you're not going to take this seriously, like, where were you? Like, whatever. And so he's like, okay, I guess we're like not doing this anymore. So he just goes back to being a janitor. And she's just like, so you're not going to show up? And he's like, yeah, I don't, whatever.
He's like, no, I'm done. I don't want to be like treated like this.
Yeah.
More or less. He's like, I dislike you so much right now that I would rather clean your shit than dance with you.
Right. We cut to, he goes over to Marcus and Skinny's house. And by house, I mean they are living in a motel. It is clearly the movie telling us the class divide.
Yes.
This is the conversation that they have about, hey, the team sucks. Well, maybe they wouldn't if you played.
Yeah, which I think is an important conversation, which we sort of delved into earlier. But I like that that's in the movie.
Yeah. And then we cut to her with her mom. And her mom is like, hey, remember our deal. If you don't get cast in a company, you have to go to Cornell, which means that her like grades were good enough before the dancing. And she's like, well, my rehearsal partner quit, so maybe you'll get your dream after all. But we cut to the next day and he comes back because after that conversation with Marcus, he's kind of like, you're right. I have quit everything and I really like doing this. I want to get back to it.
Yeah.
So they partner up again. But in order to prove that he's not going to abandon her, he has to take a ballet class in tights. Finally. But there's this little girl mean mugging him the whole time. I like that she comes back later in the movie. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But as they go to walk home, she's like, let me take you to a place to show you kind of how I envision this dance. She takes us to her dad's old office because he used to manage this like shipping company. And this is the like scene in the movie that everyone remembers because they're on the rooftop and they basically do the dance in canon. And this is where he lifts her for the dirty dancing and then flips it so she faces up. Very hard to do, but great.
Yeah, it's crazy good, though. But this scene is like if Selling Sunset was also Save the Last Dance. It's like that.
Right.
Everything is like colorized in a very different way. It's golden hour and that sun is screaming at you in every shot. And honestly, like, I kind of love it.
Yeah. But we cut to, and this is where we find out that her dad died and her mom doesn't really understand dancing, whatever.
Yeah.
We cut back to school where they're trying to tell Lucy that Colin is too old for her, which, like, yes, he is.
Colin looks 33. Like, I'm not joking.
Sure.
Yeah, he looks 33.
I think Colin, if there's any relationship with her and Colin, it is one-sided, where she was like, oh my God, he's into me, and he doesn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Or there's no relationship, and she just wants to tell people there is.
Sure.
But either way, it's not good.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not good. Anyway, but this is where we hear Miles's new beat. And he's like, oh, we got to use this. And he starts like re-choreographing her dance, basically.
I mean, with her permission, like he does give her like some ideas and they try them and she likes them. So she adds them. Like it does still position it as like, this is yours.
Right.
But here's something we could try, you know?
Right. Well, and we know from the rooftop that she envisioned her dance with a lot of dancers. And he's like, well, you should do it with a lot of dancers.
Yeah, he's like, you go to a school where like you could throw an apple down the hallway and hit 9 dancers. So like...
Well, he says, your school busting with kids in tights.
Right.
And so they decide that they're going to cast a bunch of dancers and do it with a group. And they show Rachel Griffiths and she's like, your original piece was really good. This is very risky, but it could pay off.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, a lot of this is Tyler. And she's like, and he's like, well, we kind of trade, you know, we traded.
Well, he says we traded because like I showed her some moves and then she showed me how to like do choreography and like really stick to a routine, right?
Right.
Because he comes from a style of dancing that is more just baked in emotion and like movement.
Right.
It's impressive. It's a different kind of impressive though. It takes less, I think, like concentration and more in tune with your emotions. It's a different kind of skill, but in the same realm.
Yeah.
And so she teaches him the other side of it, and he shares that more emotional sort of side of dancing with her. And it rounds out both of their dancing skill sets in a very nice way. They're very good together.
Right. And this is where we introduce the idea of like, he's not a student, but maybe he could be.
Yeah. Well, I think, isn't it the principal who plants that seed and then he comes back in the next scene and is like,
right.
I think I do want to do that. And she's like, no.
Well, here's the thing. I understand her no because I don't think it's truly a no. I think it's a...
Oh, I think it's more sinister too, Paige. Yeah, I agree because she's like, oh, if you want to get into this school, I can't tell you what you have to do because it's illegal, but like, you know what you have to do, Channing.
Here's the thing. I think she was always going to let him in, but she wanted to make sure he was going to stick with it.
We're talking about having sex with her, right, Paige? Like, that's what we're saying.
Oh, yeah. Two beautiful people. But because it's one of those things where I think, because she even says, she's like, you're incredibly talented, but like, this is something you have to stick with. You have only been doing this for a few weeks, maybe months.
Right.
I need to know if this is what you really do want to stick with.
And also at this point, he's quit it once.
He has quit it once.
So yeah.
And she said earlier in the movie that like the amount of damage he did is equivalent to one student's tuition. So that means that he would effectively cost them 2 students' tuitions.
Yeah.
So, like, I understand.
But it's also like the last week of school when she's like, you can join our school. It's fine.
That's insane. It's so you can join our
Yeah.
school for the last week.
She just printed a diploma from like diplomas.com on her work computer and gave that to him.
Yeah.
Because they're out the door already. Because there's no way he's a junior.
Right. Because he's like 40. No, I'm kidding.
That dude can't be on his parents' insurance anymore. Like he's that old already.
Anyway, the very next kind of scenes, we see that Brett, her boyfriend, who we have not liked this entire movie, signed without his producer.
Because he did what every artist has
He did
always
what
done.
everybody does.
And every producer has high-fived themselves that they just made their career.
Here's the one way I will say that this is shitty of Brett. Because if they would have gone to the meeting together, then Miles could have probably negotiated a position as a producer within the recording company.
Which is typically how it happens, yeah.
Yes.
But honestly, like, the A&R team from that label would be reaching out to that producer to have a conversation.
They should be, yeah.
And if they're not, that's an oversight on their part.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. This movie doesn't understand that. But it also seems like Brett went to that meeting and didn't even tell Miles it was happening.
He didn't even tell his girlfriend. He was like, a record label wants to talk to me. I guess I need to start cheating on my girlfriend immediately. Like, he tunes out of the relationship the second he hears about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was honestly very funny. As someone who talked to a lot of record labels a little bit after this time period in my life, eventually signed with one and it didn't go well. Maybe hang on to those relationships. Don't burn any bridges is all I'm saying at this point. Like, you're not a rock star yet. A lot of things can go wrong.
Right. Anyway, this causes her to break up with him immediately.
Yeah.
Great. Now she's free to make out with Channing Tatum.
Which is what she wanted all along.
Yeah.
It was like when Andrew sprained his leg, like the scene where he's like, I can't dance with you. She was fully about to break up with him in that scene because when he's like, oh, I sprained my ankle, I can't dance. She was like, oh, shucks.
Oh, damn.
So great. Rest up. It's fine. We're good. It's like she realizes, oh, I don't have to break up with you. This is great.
This is great. And while this is happening is while Channing Tatum is talking to Rachel Griffiths about coming to be a student.
Yeah.
So Lucy, her friend, is like, Brett did you a favor by taking the thing. Now you can work with other people. Like, your beats are hotter than what he could do anyway.
Yeah.
And this is where they all go to see Lucy sing backup for Colin. And admittedly, this song slaps.
Yeah.
But this is also where, like, everyone kind of seems to know the dance. But then Colin comes over and is like, Lucy told me about you, Miles. Do you want to play? And so Miles, like, mixes something for Lucy to sing in the moment, which, like, that's not how that works.
No, not at all.
I guess if you have never sung live before, you might not understand that this is a little impossible, I guess.
The fact that Miles is like invited up on stage and just like fits into a song where he doesn't really know the song. They don't really know what he's going to do with the song. And they're giving him space to do things and to show off and to play and stuff. And you can see that they're like surprised. Not like when Chuck Berry heard Yoko sing for the first time, surprised, but like, oh my God, that was awesome. Like, you're great, kind of surprised, right?
Right.
So we know they've never played with him before.
Right.
And he is just so good, which honestly, like, okay, I get the whole Back to the Future, just follow me for the changes and try to keep up part of it. Like, he might just be so good at writing pop music, he can recognize the formula and play a song, right?
Right.
There are people who are that good. I am not one of them, but they exist. And maybe Miles is one of those people. You know who isn't those people? Everyone in the audience of this performance that does a synchronized, like, choreographed dance during it. It's nuts.
Yeah. And when he's like, when Channing Tatum later is like, is this place always like this? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, no. A magical place where everyone knows the dance immediately. No. That's not how this works.
You know the Cheers theme song. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows to dance. Yeah. But Paige, when she said, what do you think this, or like the thing about what is this place or whatever?
Yeah. Is this place always like this?
Yeah. When she said, is this place always like this? I like looked around at like the setting and I was like, wait, Are they just like in an abandoned factory they just break into and set up parties? Like, is that why this takes place in Baltimore?
Maybe.
Man, the Wire was so hot in 2006, guys.
It was. This movie can't decide because it wants Baltimore to be New York. 100%.
I think it wants New York to be more dilapidated, and that's why they're in Baltimore.
Yes. Right. Anyway, he and Jenna Dewan go and walk off to go make out on the pier. But while that's happening, Miles talks to Lucy about the performance they just had and sees Colin cheating on her. And she's like, don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Or is Colin cheating on her? Maybe like that's...
who knows?
Yeah, maybe Colin's not in a relationship or doesn't really know her all that well.
Yeah, or did not consider whatever they had to be a relationship, although she is underage and that is established, which is not good.
That is bad. You're right. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
That is bad. But Channing Tatum and Jenna Dewan make out, and then we get another montage of them making out and dancing, which is very cute. They have a ton of chemistry, but it just pads the runtime.
Yeah, it is just for chemistry building, though, and they really do have it.
Right. He does go to her house and see pictures. Her mom walks in on them kissing.
Yeah.
We then cut to, he's like leading the rehearsal at that point. Like, he is the choreographer and she's just there, which is wild.
Yeah.
But his friend Marcus shows up and is like, this is what you've been missing our basketball games for? Fucking dancing? And I almost want to be like, you have no leg to stand on. He started doing this because you didn't have to go to court. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But as that's happening, like literally right after, Alex, the guy, or Andrew, the guy who had an ankle problem, is back because his ankle's better. And Jenna Dewan's immediately like, oh, great, cool, he's back. So, and I'm like, girl, what? Like, come on, what are we doing here? Like,
she's like, thanks so much for all of everything you brought to this dance.
Right.
But I'm going to go back to like Andrew doing the dance, which I also feel like it's sort of shitty that Andrew just misses out on having his partner. So this is going to sound terrible, but I'm glad the story makes it so like he just like his leg is also re-injured. It's not like he could have, but now can't do a senior recital.
Right.
Because he got replaced by the literal janitor.
Right.
So like, I was a little sad for him too, but then he like hurts his ankle again because he's a baby or whatever.
No, I think that's him gracefully bowing out. I think he's probably still sore, but yeah.
It may be that. I also think maybe the dance is now a little bit beyond his reach skill-wise.
Yes.
And so he uses his leg as an excuse to back out because he knows it's better for her if Channing Tatum does it. We don't really get that in the performance. Like, they don't really like telegraph that, but I could see it that way.
Yeah.
But if we need, I wanted a cutaway to like Channing Tatum at that Heavy D house party with his like friends, with Mac and Skinny, and they're like, what do we do, man? We gotta like, maybe we let's go break his leg. Let's go break his leg. And then just cut over to like Nancy Kerrigan, just like, no. Don't do it. But it's fine. God takes his leg or whatever, so he can't dance.
Anyway, so I do like in the scene, he's like, this is exactly the thing you broke up with your boyfriend for that he did to his friend. And she's like, no. And I'm like, it's exactly the same.
It's completely different because this is dance. And I'm like, all right, but like still it's the same thing. Like it is dance instead of music. It's a different kind of art. So sure, it's a different thing. But situationally, it's the same.
It's the same. Yeah. We get a montage of him dodging her calls, which we didn't need. We needed one scene of it. Like, we didn't need a wild montage with her doing college applications and all this stuff.
Especially when that montage ends immediately with them like coming back together. Like every time they get separated, it's literally like a montage. And then the next scene, they're like figuring out a way to get back together.
Yeah. But in this one, we cut to him rejoining Omar and Skinny on the basketball court and they come back together. But they are at Marcus. Oh, no, not Omar. They're about to go to Omar's party. It's Marcus and Skinny. So they meet up on the basketball court and then they're back at Marcus's house. And his mom is like, hey, I got to work tonight. Don't go to a party, especially not Skinny.
Yeah.
Especially not what happened after last time.
Yeah, she literally tells him, don't leave the house.
Yeah. But as soon as she's gone, they're like, don't worry, we'll tuck you in before we leave. But it's Skinny has mad younger brother energy. And so he's gonna go. He's gonna go.
Yep.
We go to the party and Marcus is like, stupid art school shit, because who turns out to be there? Miles, because he's from the same neighborhood. So he's at the party. And he's like, you know this guy from art school? And they're like, yeah. And I love that Heavy D is like, yo, Tupac and all these other people went to art school. Like, shut the fuck up. And I was like, that's right, Heavy D.
Yeah.
So Skinny shows up and Marcus is like, go the fuck home, and just basically sends him outside with like money to get a cab home.
He literally hands him like some cash and says, take the bus. Go home now.
Yeah, go home.
Yeah.
Go home now. But he sees PJ's Escalade pull up to a bodega, and the guy supposed to be watching the car gets out of the bodega. So he steals the Escalade and drives back to the party and yells up to the party. And Marcus and Tyler are like, oh my God, no, what? Get out of the car, fucking run. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because they realize how dangerous it's going to be, because another car comes up and just fucking pops Skinny in the middle of the street.
But Skinny like has no, like, I think maybe the way to say it is Skinny can't read a room, because they're like, oh my God, that's PJ's. Oh my God, you're going to die. Please run away from the car. And he's like, get some girls. Let's go for a drive. And you're like, what? That is an insane reaction to your brother and best friend. Like, oh my God, run from the car right now. They're going to come murder you.
Right. And so they murdered Skinny.
Yeah.
And literally we immediately cut to like Tyler and Marcus on a basketball court. And Marcus is like, maybe we should strive for our dreams. It's what Skinny would want. And you're like, what? Okay, fine. So Tyler then goes to the senior recital the night of the performance. They have not rehearsed his version in quite some time.
At least a week.
At least a
like,
week.
She has been focusing on doing like a solo dance, she says.
Yeah.
Which means, Paige, why are all the background dancers there?
I have to imagine that she did her solo version where she just doesn't have a partner and everyone else does.
So...
But then she says, we're going back to the old version with Miles.
With Tyler.
Or no,
it's
with Tyler.
Yeah. And you hear people literally go, yay!
Yay! And he's like, do it the way you imagined it, even though they haven't practiced it in weeks. So they do it. It's great. It's a lot of fun to watch.
But he like shows up and it like in front of the principal, who's like, you better leave. This isn't the time for this.
Right.
And he's like, no, you told me I got to fight for what I want or whatever. And I'm fighting for this because I want it. This is like this is a perfect Channing Tatum. I realize it sounds just like him. Anyway. And so she's like, do you remember the steps? And he's like, I did the steps every day for a year or whatever. And then they go out and do the dance. And it's great. Honestly, the dance is fully in the movie. We see all 12 minutes of it or whatever, and it's great.
Yeah, it's great. We then cut after she gets an offer to be in the company, and he gets to be a student at the school.
Paige, I have so much to say about this one throwaway moment, because the principal brought like someone from a company that wants to hire her backstage to meet her. And they're like, oh, it's great to meet you. I'd love to talk to you once you graduate about joining our company. And she's like, great. And then that person from that company is like, who was the male lead? And I really wanted the principal to be like, get this, the fucking janitor. But they chose to do like the more sweet, he's a student, which like, no, he's not. That is the principal equivalent of stolen valor.
Yeah,
like,
taking credit for it.
That person is not in school.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would have lost my mind if she was like, get this, he's the fucking janitor.
He's a fucking janitor.
How awesome is he?
Oh,
I don't know. It would have been hilarious. But it is really sweet.
Yes.
And that's the movie. So, Paige, having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what'd you think about Step Up?
Ooh, not as good as I remember it. Soundtrack, 10 out of 10, no notes. Soundtrack really, really holds up. So I would say if you go back to watch this and you haven't watched it since 2006, temper your expectations. However, pop that soundtrack back in. Like, I'm about to go dig through my CDs and find that shit.
I would encourage everyone to watch this movie because it is fun. It's not great, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And I did not dislike my time with it this evening, even though it was my first time with it.
It's got like 6 sequels too, by the way.
Oof. Are the Tatums in them?
No. It's different dancers every time. And some of them have gone on to be very famous dancers and choreographers, which is very, very cool. And the sequels kind of become like a launch pad for choreographers.
Great.
But they're not much to watch. I would say.
Holy shit. Their Step Up to the Streets.
I hear that one's really good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it might be. I don't know. There's Step Up 3D, which came out in 2010. So, like, I'm sure that's great. Step Up Revolution, which I have to imagine is them doing their dance spin on the Purge movies.
Sure.
Step Up All In and Step Up Year of the Dance. That is 5 films too many for a Step Up franchise. Anyway, like I said earlier, this movie feels like you took everything that was up and coming in 2006, put it in a blender, and just like poured it onto soft crackers and made me eat it.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I liked what it tasted like. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a combination of Cheese Whiz and just raw chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it. Do you have any fun facts for us, though?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts. Tatum.
Fun facts. They were married in 2009, just a few years after this movie, and then were divorced in 2018, finalized in 2019.
Which is a 9-year relation. Like, 9-year marriage is not nothing.
That's a long time.
And I would assume they got together from this movie. So they probably were dating from 2006.
They did.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they did. And from what I understand, it's fairly amicable, which is always good.
Sure.
Now, a lot of the fun facts around this movie will say that Channing Tatum was not a professional dancer. I say that depends on how you define professional.
He definitely was a stripper, right? So he was a professional.
He was a stripper. And by the way, there are videos on YouTube of him back in his stripping days. They made the rounds when this came out. And I'm assuming they're still up. And he's never hid that. Right? So I think it's kind of bullshit that people are like, he's not a professional dancer. I was like, well, he's not a classically trained dancer.
Sure.
But like he got paid for dancer as a job. So anyway, he was very intimidated about portraying dancing in a movie next to people who had danced their entire lives. And specifically, Jenna Dewan, who I mentioned was a dancer, still choreographs. She is actually an incredibly talented dancer who typically dances barefoot, but she was forced to wear shoes while dancing because he kept accidentally stepping on her toes. But they still got married and were together for a long time, so that's kind of fun. Both the director and director of photography have cameos at the start of the film. The director of photography is the janitor who is supposed to be overseeing Channing Tatum, but that's why he doesn't ever come back in the movie.
That's amazing. Okay, can I tell you where I wanted him back, though?
Sure.
During the dance.
Just clapping and crying?
Yes, I wanted him in the back, standing in the back with 2 other janitors that we've never met, holding mops, crying.
Yeah.
Like, there was this whole emotional, like, story that they had off screen with Channing Tatum.
Right.
And they're so damn proud he figured it out. You know what I'm saying?
They're so happy.
But,
yes.
like, no context, that would have made me laugh my ass off. If I was like, oh shit, the guy who played head janitor thought this was going to be a launch pad for his success, and they cut him out of the movie.
Aw. Now, the director, Ann Fletcher, is Nora's dance teacher at the beginning of the movie when he first sees Nora.
Okay, nice.
All of the artwork in the school comes from the Carver Center for the Arts and Technology, which is a high school in Baltimore County. It's from students in the visual arts program, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The original title for this movie was just Music High. That's a terrible title, by the way.
Paige, tell me that this is not just some executive scribbled that on a napkin and then told an intern to get him everything that was hot currently.
Yeah, Music High ? Is I think what that should be. Just scribbled on a note that has cocaine dust on it. Yeah. Now, both Jenna Dewan and Allison Stoner have both appeared in music videos for Missy Elliott, because they were both dancers at the time.
Yeah.
In other countries where the phrase step up does not necessarily translate, this movie was titled Sexy Dance.
Okay, can I be honest with you? Better title. Come on.
It's better than Music High.
Oddly enough, Sexy Dance was the code name for Save the Last Dance when they were filming.
It was.
It wasn't. I'm just joking.
A handful of cast members in this movie were also on The Wire because they were filming in the same city and they just took this job on their off season.
Paige, when they're running around in like their section of Baltimore, the lower class section that they're like coded in, that is legit sets from The Wire. Like, it's the same area of town they use in The Wire.
Yeah.
Like, I recognize some streets.
There are shared sets.
Yeah.
And it was just because this was filming in the off season, and those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a wee little bit about box office So, Paige, what do you think the production budget was for Step Up in 2006?
I have to recuse myself
you
because
know?
I know what it was. Yeah.
So you know the production budget was $12 million. If you just had for inflation, that's almost $19 million today.
Which makes sense for this movie.
I think so, too.
That's an appropriate budget for something like this.
I think for $19 million at the time, it looks great. There's not a lot of top tier talent, which is why it's a little bit cheaper. There are multiple locations around Baltimore. So I do think they spent that money well.
Choreography with large groups of people is expensive because you got to pay for all those people, and they're not normal extras. They're dancers who are more expensive. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. That's a normal budget for this.
Yeah, I think they did well with it. And I mean, obviously they did well with it because the movie made pretty good amount of money. This movie did come out as Nelly Furtado's Promiscuous was number one on the charts on August 11th, 2006. Paige, it was number 2 in the box office the weekend it came out. It was beat by Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. Number 2 was obviously Step Up. Number 3 was World Trade Center. Number 4 was Barnyard, The Original Party Animals. And number 5 was Pulse. Other notable movies that we've done on Horror Virgin, The Descent was in theaters at this time too. Ooh. But what do you think Step Up made in its opening weekend?
I think in this opening weekend, it made $22 million.
Paige, you're so close. It didn't quite get there, but so close. It was $20.6 million, which again, the production budget was 12. So it made more than its production budget in its first week. That's fantastic. It was in theaters for a total of 10 weeks. It was in the top 5 for the first 2 weeks. It was in the top 10 for its first 4 weeks. And then again, was in theaters for 10 weeks total. What do you think it made in its domestic run?
I would say domestic run, it probably made about 65.
Ooh, Paige, that's a great guess because it was $65.2 million domestically.
Hell yeah.
It also made another $45 million internationally.
Yep.
So it is a $100 million movie, technically $110.9 million in the box office. Again, on a $12 million budget. So it's so close to 10xing its budget. Had it made $10 more million, it would have done that.
That's why there's 6 sequels.
But if you adjust that $110.9 million for inflation, that's roughly $172.6 million today. It's a great return on investment for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they made this thing a franchise.
There are a couple kinds of movies that always do well internationally, and it's dance movies and action movies, and specifically action movies that go and film car chases and stuff in different cities.
Yeah.
But it's because they don't need to translate, really. Like, you could not speak English and largely enjoy this film.
Yeah, you could call this movie Sexy Dance and people would go see it.
Sexy Dance.
Anyway, Paige, that's your box office. Do you want to hit them with that romance scale?
Our romance scale is a scale of 1 to 4 on how romantic we found this movie. Todd?
I'm going to give it a 3. They have a daughter.
Oh, the chemistry is there.
It's there.
It is. I would say a 2 because I don't find this movie incredibly romantic, but their chemistry do jump off the screen.
Yeah, I would say they have a lot of chemistry, maybe not romantic. I could see that. So yeah, I get your 2. I'm still going to keep it at a 3, but it's not really like high on the roar scale. A child dies, guys.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. That's terrible. It's just a wild thing to put in this movie. They were like, the dance movie where they shoot a child? Yeah.
Yeah, which the guy who shot Massimo's dad could see. Like, it's from space. You could see it from space, Paige.
From space.
You can see it coming literally a mile away. It's so funny.
Yes. And that's your romance scale.
Yeah, so Paige, this week you made us watch Step Up. What are you making us watch as we continue? Dance Dance Revolution month? What is this month?
This is Dance Rom-Com month. And you've got choices because there are a lot of them to the point where we'll finish this month and at a certain point later on, we will probably have to do another dance movie month.
I'm sure, yeah.
But I'm going to give you some choices.
All right.
You could choose the dance movie that all the theater kids love, the dance movie that made dance movies famous, the sequel to the dance movie that made dance movies famous.
Didn't we just do Grease 2?
I know. Or the one that everyone makes fun of.
Shit. Okay, I kind of want to go to the one that made them famous.
All right, then we are watching Dirty Dancing next week.
Nobody puts the podcast in the corner, Paige.
Nobody puts the podcast in the corner. I will say, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, and I accept that, I prefer Dirty Dancing 2. I'm excited for us to eventually get to it.
Oh, you mean Havana Nights, Paige?
Havana Nights! That's my other soundtrack that I fucking loved from this era.
Speaking as someone who's never seen Dirty Dancing 2, I'm sure it's wonderful.
It's like historical and the dancing's still good and it, oh my God, chemistry off the charts.
I thought it was weird they just did the song as I Had Cigars for My Life. It was weird. I get that it's
And
Havana, but like...
I never smoked that way before.
Like, why? Like, you should write a new song, guys.
They did write a new song and it's incredible. That soundtrack fucking slaps and it's all salsa and it's amazing.
I do love salsa.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah. Well, guys, we got to watch the first one before we can watch Havana Nights. So next week, we're going to take our medicine.
Sure.
And watch the
first one is
film.
also good.
I know, that's my
Like-
point. I'm making fun of it. It's like the one you don't like as much.
I just prefer the second one. That's fine.
Paige loves Lou Bega, guys. Like, that's where it is for her. Who would not be found in Havana. That dude's actually German. I don't know if you guys know that, but yeah.
German as fuck.
Anyway,
Yes.
but your homework is to watch Dirty Dancing and just see Patrick Swayze
Oof.
set the tone for what Massimo would try to be, and that is a sexy man who also gets to sing on the soundtrack.
Hungry eyes. There's a coat hanger abortion in this movie.
Whoa, hungry eyes. I wish I was in the sequel. They got cigars.
They do have cigars, but also cultural revolution. Anyway.
By Lamos.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. No, wait, hold on. Do you have any reviews for us?
Paige, yes. So it's like late night energy. Yeah, okay. So Paige, yes, I do have, honestly, reviews and or Spotify comments. So this week's Spotify comment is coming out on our most recent episode, which was the No Hard Feelings episode. And, oh, wait, didn't we already do one of these? Oh, it's because we're recording sooner than normal. Because last week we did Charlotte Jones's We Have a Cracker Barrel in Bakersfield, and we talked about that for a second. We did just get a new one on that episode today. We've got quite a few on it. And it was from Abby, and they say, I went to see this in the theater and walked out halfway through. Easy to believe this was direct to Netflix page. LOL. So I think you may have said that it felt like it was a direct to Netflix movie, and they definitely agreed. So Abby, thank you so much for that Spotify comment. And if you want to have me read your Spotify comment or 5-star Apple review, leave us a 5-star Apple review or Spotify comment, and I'll do just that. So yeah, if you guys like this show and want to hear our other show where we talk about horror movies, that is The Horror Virgin. That's the only other podcast I am on, but Paige is also on Cult Podcast, which you can find at Cult Podcast. And you can find us on social media. I am at Todd J. Awesome, literally everywhere. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Instagram.
No, it's at Rampage Wesley on Instagram and TikTok, at Paige Wesley on Twitter.
That's right. All right. So that's where you can find Paige. If you want to find the show, we are at Romancing the Pod Show, right?
Yep, Romancing Pod Show on Twitter.
Well, and Instagram, right?
And Instagram, but it's show SHO because character limits. If you start typing Romancing the Pod, it'll come up.
It'll definitely come up on Instagram. I don't know about Twitter because I haven't posted on Twitter in a hot ass minute. So like, who knows? But that is where you can find more of us. So yeah, guys, give us a follow. Support the show any way you can. We'd love it.
Smash that like button.
Hell yeah.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To dance pleation. Bye. Channing Tatum always looks like a thumb. Nerds.
A very sexy thumb.
I didn't say it wasn't a fuckable thumb, Paige.